Hey there! We're diving into the law of attraction today. Based on what you've been reading, we got your notes, and a podcast script called Manifesting Your Best Life, all queued up. It seems you're ready to unpack this whole idea of thoughts becoming things, and honestly, so am I. This deep dive is going to be fascinating. We'll explore what the law of attraction is, where it comes from, and how it's used. We'll even touch on some of the science behind it, and whether there's any truth to it.
It's certainly a concept that sparks a lot of curiosity. And let's be real, a healthy dose of skepticism, too. What's interesting is that the law of attraction, while it might sound a bit woo-woo at first, actually has a history that goes way beyond just positive vibes.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly is the law of attraction? I have to admit, the way our source connects it to quantum physics really piqued my interest.
Well, the core idea is that our thoughts and emotions have a real impact on the world around us. It suggests that what we focus on, we attract. It's not just about thinking positive. And good things magically appearing, though, it's much more nuanced than that.
That's where I get a little tripped up. Think positive and good things will happen always seemed a little too simplistic to me.
Exactly. It's not just about wishful thinking. The source emphasizes the importance of inspired action, in addition to positive thinking.
Inspired action, so it's not enough to just sit around and daydream about what we want.
Not quite. Inspired action means taking steps that are aligned with our desired outcome and fueling those actions with belief and positive emotions. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our reality through our choices and actions.
So the source is saying that our thoughts are like a magnet, drawing in experiences that match our dominant emotional state. But it also emphasizes the importance of actually doing something to move towards our goals. Does that mean that just anyone can achieve anything they set their mind to?
That's where things get a little more complex. The law of attraction isn't a guarantee of success, but rather a framework for understanding how our thoughts, emotions, and actions interact to create our reality.
That makes sense. It's not a magic wand, but more like a roadmap that can help us navigate towards what we want. So where did this whole idea come from? I mean, it seems like it's everywhere these days. But the source mentions some pretty heavy hitters from the past, like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Napoleon Hill.
You're right. The law of attraction has roots that go way back. Thinkers and philosophers have been exploring the power of the mind for centuries. Emerson, for example, wrote about the importance of self-reliance and trusting our intuition, concepts that align with the law of attraction's emphasis on taking control of our thoughts and beliefs.
And Napoleon Hill, he was all about that success mindset, wasn't he?
Absolutely. His book, Think and Grow Rich, is practically a Bible for those who believe in the power of positive thinking and focused intention. He interviewed hundreds of successful people and found that many of them attributed their achievements to a strong belief in themselves and their goals.
So it's not just some new age fad. It's a concept that's been percolating for a long time. But I think a lot of people, myself included, hear law of attraction and immediately think, oh, so if I just sit on my couch and visualize winning the lottery, it'll magically happen.
I think that's a pretty common misconception. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons why the law of attraction sometimes gets dismissed as overly simplistic or even delusional. The source addresses this head-on, making it clear that it's not about just wishing and hoping.
So if it's not about wishful thinking, how does it actually work? How do we move beyond just positive thoughts and into that realm of inspired action?
The source highlights a few key techniques. Visualization is a big one.
Oh, I can actually relate to that. A few years ago, I was really unhappy in my job, and I started visualizing myself working somewhere else, somewhere that felt more fulfilling. I even went so far as to create a vision board with images that represented the kind of work I wanted to do and the environment I wanted to be in.
And look at you now. You're hosting a podcast, exploring fascinating topics like the law of attraction.
It's funny how things work out, isn't it?
It is. And that's the power of visualization. It's about creating a clear mental picture of what you want to achieve and holding that image in your mind with strong emotion and belief.
So it's like setting the GPS in your mind for where you want to go. But what about those times when you hit a roadblock? Like, what if you're visualizing your dream job, but you keep getting rejected from interviews? Does that mean the law of attraction isn't working?
Not necessarily. The law of attraction isn't about controlling every outcome. It's about aligning yourself with what you want.
Yeah.
And then trusting the process.
Trusting the process. That's easier said than done sometimes.
It definitely can be. But the source reminds us that setbacks are a natural part of life. They don't necessarily mean we're on the wrong path.
Yeah.
They might actually be opportunities for growth and learning.
So it's about staying flexible and adaptable, not giving up at the first sign of resistance. That makes a lot of sense. But I'm curious, what about the science behind all of this? Is there any evidence to suggest that our thoughts can actually influence reality?
That's a question that scientists and philosophers have been grappling with for a long time. And while there's no definitive proof, there are some intriguing connections to scientific principles that the source explores.
Like what? Fill me in. I'm all ears.
Well, one area of research that's relevant is neuroplasticity. This is the idea that our brains are constantly changing and adapting based on our thoughts and experiences.
So if we're constantly feeding our brains positive thoughts and focusing on our goals, could that actually rewire our brains to make those things more likely to happen?
That's one way to look at it. And it makes sense if you think about it. If we're constantly focusing on negativity and fear, we're essentially training our brains to look for evidence that confirms those beliefs. But if we consciously choose to focus on positivity and possibility, we're creating new neural pathways that support those beliefs.
So by shifting our focus, we can actually change the way our brains operate. That's pretty amazing. But the source also mentioned something about quantum physics and the law of attraction. Now, I have to admit, quantum physics always makes my head spin a little. Can we break that down in a way that even I can understand?
I'll do my best. It's a complex subject.
Yeah.
But the basic idea is that at the subatomic level, the building blocks of reality aren't fixed and solid as we perceive them to be. They exist as possibilities, and it's our observation or our focused attention that collapses those possibilities into a specific outcome.
Okay, so it's like our thoughts and intentions are influencing which possibilities become reality? That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And while this is still very much a theoretical area of study, it suggests that our minds might have a much greater influence on the physical world. And we realize that
So we're not just passive observers. We're active participants in shaping reality. I'm starting to see why the law of attraction has captivated so many people. But let's shift gears for a minute and talk about some of the practical techniques the source suggests. Visualization we've already touched on. What else is there?
well, affirmations are another powerful tool. These are positive statements that we repeat to ourselves, either out loud or silently, to reprogram our subconscious minds and reinforce our beliefs.
I've heard of affirmations before, but never really tried them. Do they really work?
Well, think about it this way. Our minds are constantly bombarded with messages, both positive and negative. Advertising, social media, the news, even our own internal self-talk can all influence our beliefs and self-perception. Affirmations are a way of consciously choosing the messages we want to feed our minds. It's like replacing negative self-talk with empowering self-talk.
So instead of saying, I'm not good enough, we say, I'm capable and worthy. It's about changing the script in our heads.
Exactly. And the more we repeat those positive affirmations, the more they become ingrained in our subconscious minds, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately our actions.
That makes sense. It's like creating a new habit. But for our thoughts, the source also emphasized the importance of gratitude.
Right.
How does that fit into the law of attraction?
Gratitude is a powerful tool for shifting our energy and attracting more positivity into our lives. When we focus on what we're grateful for, it changes our perspective. We start to see the good in our lives instead of dwelling on the negative, and that positive energy acts like a magnet, drawing in more things to be grateful for.
It's like a self-perpetuating cycle of positivity. But what about those times when it's hard to feel grateful? Like when you're going through a tough time and it feels like everything is going wrong?
Those are the times when gratitude can be the most challenging, but also the most transformative. It's easy to feel grateful when things are going well, but it takes real effort to find things to appreciate when you're feeling down or discouraged.
So how do we cultivate gratitude when we're struggling?
One way is to start small. Focus on the simple things. The warmth of the sun on your skin, a good cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend. These might seem like insignificant things, but they can be powerful reminders that even in the midst of difficulty, there is still goodness to be found.
It's about shifting our attention to the positive, even when it feels hard. I like that. The source also talked about limiting beliefs, those negative thoughts that can hold us back from achieving our goals. How do we deal with those within the framework of a law of attraction?
Limiting beliefs are like roadblocks on the path to manifesting our desires. They can stem from past experiences, societal conditioning, or even our own fears and insecurities. The first step in overcoming them is to become aware of them.
Okay, so we have to shine a light on those negative thoughts and really examine them. But what do we do once we've identified them? How do we break free from those limiting beliefs?
The key is to challenge them. Ask yourself if those beliefs are really true, or if they're just stories you've been telling yourself. Often our limiting beliefs are based on fear, rather than
So it's like putting those negative thoughts on trial and cross-examining them to see if they hold up under scrutiny.
exactly. And once you've started to question those limiting beliefs, you can begin to replace them with more empowering ones. This is where affirmations can be really helpful. Instead of repeating negative thoughts like, I'll never be successful, you can start affirming, I am capable and deserving of success.
It's like rewiring our brains for success instead of failure. But what if we have a hard time believing those positive affirmations? What if our doubts and fears keep creeping back in?
That's perfectly normal. It takes time and consistent effort to change deeply ingrained beliefs. The source suggests practicing patience and self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up if you find yourself flipping back into old patterns of thinking. Just gently redirect your attention back to the positive.
So it's a journey, not a destination. We're not going to transform our beliefs overnight. But with consistent effort, we can start to shift our mindset and create a more positive and empowering inner dialogue. The source also talked about vibrational alignment and how it relates to attracting what we want. Can you explain what that means?
Vibrational alignment is the idea that everything in the universe, including our thoughts and emotions, has a specific vibration or frequency. And according to the law of attraction, we attract things that vibrate at a similar frequency to our own.
So if we're feeling happy and optimistic, we're more likely to attract positive experiences into our lives. And if we're feeling down and negative, we're more likely to attract negative experiences.
That's the basic idea. It's like tuning a radio to a specific station. If you want to listen to classical music, you wouldn't tune your radio to a rock station. Similarly, if you want to attract positive experiences into your life, you need to align your vibration with positivity.
That makes a lot of sense. But how do we actually change our vibration? Is it just about thinking positive thoughts?
It's more than just thinking positive thoughts. It's about cultivating a positive emotional state. This can involve practicing gratitude, engaging in activities that bring you joy, surrounding yourself with positive people, and taking care of your physical and mental well-being.
So it's a holistic approach. It's about taking care of ourselves on all levels.
Yeah.
So that we can radiate positive energy.
Exactly. And the more we raise our vibration, the more we attract positive experiences into our lives, which in turn raises our vibration even higher. It's a beautiful cycle.
I love that. It's like we're creating our own reality through our thoughts, emotions, and actions. But I have to admit, I'm still a little skeptical. I mean, is there any real evidence to support the idea that our thoughts can actually influence the physical world?
That's a valid question, and one that has been the subject of much debate and research. Well, the law of attraction itself isn't a scientific theory. There is a growing body of scientific evidence that suggests that our minds can have a profound impact on our bodies and our environment.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about the scientific evidence.
Well, for example, studies have shown that placebo effects are real and powerful. People who believe they are receiving a beneficial treatment, even if it's just a sugar pill, often experience real improvements in their health. This suggests that our beliefs and expectations can have a direct impact on our physical well-being.
So our minds can literally heal our bodies.
In some cases, yes. And there's also evidence that our thoughts can influence our behavior and the way we interact with the world around us. For example, studies have shown that people who focus on positive outcomes are more likely to achieve their goals and experience success in their lives.
So it's not just about wishful thinking, it's about setting ourselves up for success by cultivating a positive mindset. This is also fascinating.
It is. And there's still so much we don't know about the power of the mind. But I think the evidence is compelling enough to suggest that our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs play a much larger role in shaping our reality than we might realize.
So what about you? Have you ever personally experienced the law of attraction in action?
I have, actually. I used to be very skeptical of the whole idea, but then I started experimenting with some of the techniques we've been discussing. I began visualizing my ideal job, repeating affirmations, and practicing gratitude daily. And within a few months, I landed a job that was even better than what I had imagined.
That's amazing. So you're a believer now.
I'm definitely more open to the possibility than I used to be. I think it's important to approach these concepts with a healthy dose of skepticism, but also with a willingness to explore and see for ourselves what's possible.
I agree. And even if we don't fully understand how it works, there's no denying that cultivating a positive mindset and taking inspired action can lead to positive changes in our lives.
Absolutely. And who knows? Maybe as science continues to unravel the mysteries of the mind, we'll gain an even deeper understanding of how the law of attraction operates and how we can harness its power to create the lives we desire.
That's an exciting thought. But let's bring it back to the listener for a minute. If someone is listening to this and feeling inspired, what are some practical steps they can take to start applying the law of attraction in their own lives?
Well, the first step is to identify what you truly want to attract. Get clear about your goals and desires, and then start incorporating some of the techniques we discussed into your daily routine. Visualize your desired outcomes. Repeat affirmations. Practice gratitude. And take inspired action towards your goals.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your successes, and learn from your setbacks.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment and see what works for you. The law of attraction is a personal journey, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So true. And as with anything in life, the more you practice, the better you'll become at it. This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about the law of attraction and its potential for transforming our lives. But there's one little detail from the source that we haven't touched on yet, and it's been bugging me all day.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What is it?
The source briefly mentioned the law of attraction and its application in relationships. Specifically, how aligning our energy can be a game changer. When it comes to healing and strengthening our connections with others, have you ever explored that aspect of the law of attraction?
That's a really fascinating area, and one that I've been delving into recently. If the law of attraction holds true for manifesting our personal desires, it makes sense that it could also apply to our relationships.
Right. Like if our thoughts and emotions can shape our own reality, could they also influence the dynamics of our relationships?
It's certainly possible. We know that emotions are contagious. When we're around positive, upbeat people, we tend to feel more positive ourselves. And the reverse is true as well.
So if we're constantly radiating negativity and resentment towards someone, it's likely to create a toxic dynamic. But if we approach the relationship with love, compassion, and understanding, could that actually shift the energy and create a more positive experience for both people?
That's the idea. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we show up in our relationships. We can choose to react with anger and defensiveness, or we can choose to respond with empathy and understanding.
So it's not about controlling the other person or forcing them to change. It's about taking responsibility for our own energy and how we contribute to the dynamic.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that everyone is on their own journey. And we don't always have control over the choices other people make. But we can choose how we respond to those choices.
That's a powerful perspective. It reminds me of that saying, you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails.
I love that analogy. It perfectly captures the essence of applying the law of attraction to relationships. It's about focusing on what we can control, which is our own thoughts, emotions, and actions.
So if we want to attract loving, supportive relationships into our lives, we need to embody those qualities ourselves. We need to be the kind of partner we want to attract.
Precisely. And that involves doing the inner work. It's about healing our own wounds, releasing past hurts, and cultivating self-love and compassion.
This is all so insightful. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this topic.
We have. But I think this is a good starting point for the listener to begin exploring how the law of attraction can be applied to their relationships.
It's like we're expanding the law of attraction outward, from just focusing on ourselves to encompassing the energy we bring to our interactions with others.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, and our energy has a ripple effect on those around us.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into the law of attraction. We've explored its history, principles, techniques, and even touched on the science behind it. But there's one final thought from the source that I want to leave you with.
I'm all ears.
The source mentioned something that really resonated with me. It said, the law of attraction is not about getting what you want. It's about becoming the person who can have what you want. What are your thoughts on that statement?
That's a profound statement. And I think it gets to the heart of what the law of attraction is really all about. It's not just about manifesting material possessions or achieving external success. It's about inner transformation.
So it's not about attracting a fancy car or a bigger house. It's about becoming the kind of person who embodies the qualities that would attract those things.
Exactly. It's about cultivating abundance consciousness, gratitude, self-love, and a belief in your own worthiness. When you focus on developing these qualities, the external manifestations will naturally follow.
It's like the saying, be the change you want to see in the world. But in this case, it's be the person you want to attract.
I love that. It's about aligning your inner world with your outer desires.
So if you want to attract a loving partner, Become the kind of person who is loving and lovable. If you want to attract financial abundance, cultivate an attitude of gratitude and generosity.
Precisely. The law of attraction is a reflection of who we are at our core. So if we want to change our reality, we need to start by changing ourselves.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the law of attraction and its potential for transforming not just our lives, but the world around us.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating topic with you.
And to you listening, if this deep dive has ignited a spark within you, I encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep experimenting with these principles. Who knows what amazing things you might attract into your life?
The journey is yours to create.